As an NBA fan of 20 plus years, I've seen countless superstars who are physical anomalies, like a 7'3" giant that moves with the gracefulness of a dancer.
Oh, get out of here!
Or a 6'9" wing with 99 overall in both strength and athleticism. Or a 7'3" alien with a bag deeper than the magician's hat at your nephew's birthday party.
I've been talking about it. He should be your #1 option on the break.
It's always a spectacle to watch these stars shine on the biggest stage, but there are some superstars who lack those physical gifts but make up for through straight grit and swagger. These men are the heroes of the underdogs, those who are doubted and underestimated.
Brunson on a run, why not?
Hello.
Those that were always handed the short end of the stick. These legends show us that it's not always about the size of the dog in the fight, but it's the size of the fight in the dog. What if I told you that we are seeing the rise of the next superstar who, although lacks these physical gifts, has something greater? I introduce to you the pit bull of New York himself, Jalen Brunson. This man has been absolutely hooping this year. Averaging 29, 4, and 7, JB single-handedly turned an absolute train wreck into a real NBA contender. Yes, single-handedly, because he's carrying Randall's ass too. This guy didn't just make New York into a playoff participant. He rerouted the entire trajectory of the Knicks' future to be a contender for years to come. I had to check this, but Brunson has yet to make his first All-Star appearance. Talk about underrated. I really don't know how we didn't see this before, but Brunson has been proving to us time and time again that he's him. Brunson attributes a lot of it to his dad, Rick Brunson, who spent 9 solid years in the NBA. Rick was Jalen's main trainer and coach during his youth. Jalen was practically born with a basketball in his hand. Jalen has been proving doubters wrong his whole life. Even since his high school days, it's been an uphill battle. As a freshman, he was just playing alongside the biggest names in the world at the time. Players like Jabari Parker and Jahlil Okafor. Fast forward to sophomore year, taking Stevenson High School to their first ever state championship appearance, where they fell short against the powerhouse Simeon High School. But that never held a young JB back. Senior year was where Jalen truly shined. In the championship game, with the pressure on, he stepped up in a big way, dropping an impressive 30 points out of his team's 54 points. But despite being a 5-star prospect with that dog in him, none of the big-name colleges came knocking on Jalen's door. This underappreciation was a theme his whole life. Jalen's biggest suitor at the time was a little college called Villanova. Nova was like a match made in basketball heaven for Jalen. That's a special place for players like Jalen. As of late, they've produced players like Kyle Lowry, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges. With Jalen at the helm, Nova claimed 2 NCAA trophies. Jalen and crew practically had championship material stamped on their chests, and it shows. All these dudes are hooping right now. This might be a shot in the dark, but how crazy would it be to get Mikal on the Knicks to complete the Nova crew? Anyway, did I mention Jalen was crowned the college player of the decade? Then he was drafted in the lottery, right? Can you guess where he got drafted? 10th? 15th? 20th? Nope. 33rd. How did 32 players get picked before the college player of the decade? Crazy. I wish I could tell you the disrespect stopped there, but even the Mavericks, who drafted him, underestimated his potential. Why? Well, some chalked it up to his size, standing at a modest 6'1". Some say athleticism. Listen to this asshat of an NBA scout. Just an average athlete overall, and won't blow anyone away with his quickness or explosiveness, even at the college level. Certainly not the NBA. It's like they never watched this dude play. Even though Jalen lacked the physical tools of the standard NBA player, he more than made up for in basketball IQ, work ethic, court vision, leadership, and absolute confidence. It's insane that the AP Player of the Year and the Wooden Award winner wasn't even drafted in the first round. Despite all his accolades, NBA scouts were too busy nitpicking at what Jalen wasn't, rather than realizing what he was. A superstar, a 3-level scorer, a proven winner at all levels. The Mavericks swooped in with the second-round pick, snagging Jalen Brunson. Do you know what is even crazier? This is the same draft the Mavericks landed Luka. Congrats, Mark, on a hell of a draft. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Brunson after he got drafted. Instead of the normal contract, the Mavs handed Jalen a 3-year deal with a non-guaranteed 4th year. Translation? They were hedging their bets, doubting whether Jalen was anything more than a role player. In his rookie season, Jalen found himself mostly coming off the bench, a far cry from his college days where he was a permanent fixture in the starting lineup. Meanwhile, Luka Magic was out there lighting up the court, night in, night out. But Jalen was patient. He kept grinding, knowing it was a matter of time before the world was introduced to the real Jalen Brunson. And as I'm sure you know, this guy's story is far from over. Year 2 was his first big moment in the NBA. Luka was unfortunately sidelined with an injury. And with Luka out, it was Jalen's time to shine. The Mavs were fighting for a playoff spot. And when they faced Atlanta, Jalen stepped up like the stone-cold savage he was. He was getting buckets, dropping dimes, and put on a show. The world finally started to take notice. Then, year 3 was all about Jalen owning that 6th Man of the Year title. Sure, he wasn't putting up all-star numbers, but he shot 78% in the paint. Yes, you heard that right, 78% in the paint. What an absurd stat for a player the scouts said would struggle with the physicality of the NBA. Then, playoffs hit, and to put it lightly, it was an absolute train wreck. Jalen started strong against the Clippers, but when Pat Beverly took the floor, Jalen couldn't hit a shot to save his life, and his plus-minus was more negative than the S&P 500 in early 2020. But hey, Jalen's career was never a straight line, and if anyone's got the guts to bounce back, it's Jalen Brunson. After all, what's basketball without a little bit of drama? Given the weak playoff showing, the Mavericks didn't exactly roll out the red carpet for Jalen Brunson when it came to a contract extension. But when the season kicked off, Jalen came back with a vengeance, and he earned himself a spot in the starting lineup. The team was winning left and right, with Jalen putting up career-best numbers. Despite his stellar play, the Mavs hesitated to lock him in long-term. They were holding out for a big trade, but it never materialized. By the time they finally offered Jalen a deal, it was too little too late. Then came the playoffs, and Luka found himself sidelined again. And Jalen, as always, was ready for the spotlight. He stepped up big time, even dropping 41 points in a game against the top-seeded Jazz. While this was going on, the Knicks fixed their sights on the rising star. They brought in Jalen's dad as a coach and wasted no time signing him to a hefty 4-year contract. While the Mavs played Jalen like a toxic ex-girlfriend, the Knicks saw Jalen's potential and didn't hesitate to make their move. And boy, did it pay off. The Knicks signed the young guard to a 4-year, $104 million contract. What was seen as a gross overpay at the time turned out to be the deal of a lifetime for the Knicks. Now Brunson is better than ever. They flew through the first round and are headed towards the finals. But what makes this kid so good? He's not physically imposing and he's not an otherworldly athlete. I believe that it's his mentality and his ability to push through all the adversity he's seen in his life. And from all the underdogs watching this video, we're cheering for you, man. Go and get that chip.